Welcome to the Ultra World Podcast, the soccer fan's voice from the stands, with your hosts, Marc and Sean Castles, coming to you from Radio Waves Studios in New York City. Now, let's kick off the show.
Well, hi again, everybody. I am Marc and Sean Castles is alongside, and as we roll along here on the Ultra World Podcast, Mr. Castles, a special guest today.
That's right. We've got Bryan Garcia here from the Crystal Palace supporter group. And just a little dive in for fans who are like, I'm not sure what my team is, but I'm intrigued by Crystal Palace despite Woody Johnson buying a part of it. Usually because, Chris Richards had a fantastic World Cup, so I think a lot of Americans are going to be looking to jump on that bandwagon. We had Bryan in here to kind of talk to us about what it means to be a Crystal Palace fan. And before we do that, I'm just going to give a really quick run-through that Crystal Palace is one of the oldest clubs in the Premier League, established in 1905, but really was formed in 1861. And it's named Crystal Palace after the Crystal Palace Company, which had a giant cast iron and glass Crystal Palace in Sydenham, which I've seen pictures of it in the past. I don't know if it still exists anymore, but I thought that was a little nice tidbit there. You guys have recently won some hardware. Bryan, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, guys. Appreciate the invite. Great to be here.
All right, the first and probably most important question, how the heck did you become a Crystal Palace fan?
So we need some additional context about myself. I live up in the Northeast now, but I was born in Chicago. So my pro sports allegiances are with the Cubs, the Bears, the Bulls, and the Blackhawks. So growing up, I was a Cubs fan because of Sammy Sosa. And then, fast forward now to fall 2004. I'm a high school student who just finished up his homework in Florida. I'm channel surfing on the TV because I'm bored, and I stumble on a new cable channel that just came with our package called Fox Soccer Channel. Yeah, it's a throwback. And they're playing an old Premier League game from, I want to say maybe like a couple weeks earlier. And it's Crystal Palace hosting Arsenal. I had heard of Arsenal before because I'd seen classmates wear the yellow O2 jerseys that Arsenal wore back in that day. But it was the first time I had seen a Crystal Palace shirt. So it's the solid stripes alternating red and blue with a bulldog in the middle for Churchill Insurance. And I loved the colors, red and blue, because of my Chicago Cubs allegiance. And I thought the dog mascot was cool. And Churchill, I used to live in Bolingbrook, Illinois, where there was a Churchill Drive. So it just felt like it was meant to be to just kind of latch onto that team. Yeah, so I basically started following them because of their shirt. And then they got relegated at the end of that season, so I learned what relegation was. And then administration came a few years later, which was basically bankruptcy, and the team also went extinct. And I got a crash course into the whole English football pyramid system because of Palace, and through thick and thin, I've made it here 20-plus years now with the club.
I would say that makes you a true bona fide fan, though, that you've been through relegation, you've been through the bankruptcy, not just jumping on the bandwagon, you stuck with them there. I do need to see that jersey, though. That sounds like, after this, I'm going to look up that jersey because I have not seen that, and it actually sounds like a really awesome jersey. Who's your favorite player? Like, what's one of your biggest moments that you have remembered throughout the history of your watching Palace?
Everything feels like it's come recently, but we'll go back in time to, I want to say, about 2013. So that was when Palace was last in the second tier, the championship, and they're playing at Wembley in the playoff final against Watford. And through this very tense, full time and extra time, Palace win 1-0 because of a Kevin Phillips penalty. And we're back up in the Premier League for the first time since that ill-fated 04-05 season when I discovered the club. And that's kind of like the first building block to what we see of Crystal Palace today, which has, among my favorite players, Daichi Kamada in center midfield, Chris Richards, the American, in central defense. When I played for a couple years as a kid, I was always like in the midfield or in the defense, so I kind of have a bias toward those players in those positions. Basically, that promotion against Watford set up the long, winding road to get us from, let's just say, Neil Warnock as manager, Alan Pardew, and up to Patrick Vieira and eventually Oliver Glasner, who took Palace up to the FA Cup final against Man City last season. I was lucky enough to fly over to Wembley for that.
Oh, you saw it? The win?
The win, yeah. I was behind the goal when Dean Henderson saved the penalty.
I would say then to Palace ownership that you may be their lucky talisman if that's one of their first hardware that they won there, because they've been on fire since.
Yeah, but I mean, we could even go back to the summer before the FA Cup final when that technically the first piece of hardware under Oliver Glasner was a preseason trophy won in Tampa, Florida, called the Stateside Cup. We beat West Ham 3-1. Jeffrey Schlupp scored a crazy looping header. Tyreek Mitchell scored in the first minute of that game. And that was kind of where I want to attribute the winning mentality under Glasner to that preseason tour in the States, because we started to see how he wanted Palace to play with the counter press, the back three, playing smart, like staying disciplined on the defense and then knowing when to break and then scoring a counter. And yeah, ever since that magical preseason meaningless trophy, we've seen three meaningful trophies.
Yeah, the Conference Cup this year, beating Leipzig.
So we played at Leipzig against Rayo Vallecano in La Liga.
Right.
That was a 1-0 win in the Conference League final. The two teams were really similar, both in their capital cities of their respective countries. Very community-oriented, kind of forgotten about because they're overshadowed by bigger clubs like Chelsea and, of course, Real and Atletico. And it was one of the best atmospheres I'd ever been in for like any football match in general.
You went to the...
I was at Leipzig too a couple months ago. Yeah.
That's cool.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
And Vallecano is a good team. Everyone was talking about it. The Premier League is just going to run through it. I want to say Rayo Vallecano is a fantastic team in La Liga and a fun one to watch.
They kept us on our back foot that first half, and we gradually grew into the game and created the opportunity through Wharton's long-range shot. I remember the crowd telling him to shoot, and he actually shot. The Vallecano keeper stayed, but the save went straight to Mateta, our striker, who played in the World Cup for a couple games.
Mateta was good.
Right. Yeah, and he basically knocked in the rebound instinctively to secure the third and final trophy.
Don't say final.
Under Oliver Glasner. Yeah.
There you go.
Are we going to talk about the Macclesfield match? Are you going to walk out of here?
I actually didn't watch that game.
See, maybe you should have, and it would have
I
turned out
probably should
different.
have. It was like 7 a.m. kickoff on a random January Saturday.
Yeah.
It was just after New Year's. I'd just come back from Florida to see my high school friends for like the first time in like 6 months. I was like, oh, I'm so tired. I'm just going to sleep in. And I wake up at like 8:30, just to like 30 minutes left in the game. I was like, oh, we're down. Interesting. So I tuned in just to like see what would happen. And I'm kind of glad I didn't in a sense, because that was the last time I saw Mark Gahey in a Palace shirt before he moved to Man City. In all honesty, we probably needed to lose one of those competitions between the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, because our thin squad that season was just stretched at that point. We had multiple injuries, including the Kamada, Daniel Munoz, the right wing back who marauds up and down the pitch tirelessly. We lost Sarr.
Excellent player.
Yeah, Ismail Sarr. He was not injured, but he was actually at the African Cup of Nations, which, in my opinion, Senegal still won that one.
Yes, they did.
Regardless of what the official paperwork says. So we were just really thin, and we really needed to rotate players and get players healthy and get people rest. It came at the expense of an embarrassing loss that, the Macclesfield, but I mean, it all paid off in the end in Leipzig. All's forgiven.
So tell us a little bit about what the local fans are like. Crystal Palace fans actually in London. What is Selhurst Park like? Give us a little background there.
Right. So Selhurst Park is in South London, the borough of Croydon. We jokingly call it our little dump. But in all seriousness, the ground is turned 100 last season. But Palace is basically a community club. Everyone's treated like family. It's very warm, also very self-deprecating. Clearly, the Macclesfield thing brought out the gallows humor for a couple months. Everyone made me feel welcome from the first time I visited in 2015, and I've gotten to know some of the supporters who live out there, and keep in contact with them every so often when I fly into London for a game. And they've all been very receptive, very welcoming to everyone. It's a very, very pleasant family-oriented club.
So moving from that to the supporters club here in New York, first off, where is the New York Eagles?
Right, New York
Where
Eagles.
do you guys watch the games?
So for the New York Eagles, we're part of that community of supporters groups at the Football Factory under Jack, who I've seen have stopped by here with you guys before.
He is a legend.
Yeah, Jack.
No pun intended.
Jack is the boss. Yeah, we've been a group with the Football Factory since our promotion. We were founded by a couple English men who lived out here for work. And then we gradually grew into like an established supporters group here because of their leadership. Owen, one who founded the group before he moved back to London to raise his family. And then so the group was inherited by another English man named Andy. He continued Owen's work, growing the group. We had a good group of people who moved from London to New York for work or for family reasons. And this was their way to stay connected to Palace. And then Andy moved back to London. So they decided we should leave it to an American. So I reluctantly stepped up. And I've kind of been in that role, kind of just shepherding the group since, I want to say, 2017 now.
Nice. Good for you.
That's cool.
That's important.
Yeah.
That's really important to get out there and make sure that people are going out there and still gathering together and enjoying the games there. Now, what does match day look like for you?
So the fun thing about being the part of the New York Eagles is I live in Connecticut. So I basically have an away day type of commute to get over. It's like basically going from London to Manchester on the wretched Avante West Coast trains. So I drive about an hour to the closest Metro North station to me that has free parking.
Which one? I know all of them.
I hop on at Milford.
Milford, okay.
Hey,
And to be clear, for those who don't know the layout of Connecticut, Mystic is at the top, very close to Rhode Island. It is not close to New York. It is a hell of a trip.
Right. Yeah. I'm basically traversing half of the state just to get to Milford. Hop on the train there. It's about a 2-hour train ride from Milford to Grand Central. Grand Central is about a 10-minute walk to the Football Factory. So all in all, I wake up about 5 a.m. I hop on the train by like 6:50. I'm in Manhattan by 8:40 a.m.
Love it.
Yeah, and then I'm at the Football Factory, depending how fast I walk. I'm there by like 9 a.m. Just kind of settling in, getting the breakfast before everyone shows up because it's been a long morning.
We've had
already.
the breakfast.
We have had the breakfast.
Delicious.
Very tasty.
Bacon
very tasty.
buddy and the omelet. Those two are my go-tos.
And the bartenders there are fantastic. They're all really nice. And they do a really great job of kind of keeping the peace.
Right.
Keeping the peace with everybody there throughout, that everyone gets to enjoy. Jack's the boss, and everyone has a good time. That is dedication.
Oh, yeah.
That is...
You're a better man than I, sir.
I'm always like, hey, I got to roll out of bed to go out and interview people for 10 o'clock, and it's like 8:30. 5:30 is like my old swimming days. That is complete dedication there. Who would you say is Crystal Palace's biggest rival?
In the Premier League right now, it would be that club down by the coast named Brighton.
Okay.
Oh, great. Now I got to read the really weird history about those two. The gist of it is the two clubs had managers who hated each other circa, I want to say, the 70s. And then that personal animosity kind of spilled onto the supporters because the two clubs kept meeting each other between the league and the cup competitions. And it kind of stuck. Obviously, I'm an American, so I wasn't born into that rivalry, but I experienced it once when I went to Selhurst when Patrick Vieira was still in charge of Palace. That was the first time I felt Selhurst in like a state of tension. Everything just felt tense from just getting into the ground and kind of seeing no one's segregated when you're outside the ground. Everyone's just kind of commingling around.
Oh, really? It's not. There's no partition in like these are the away fans, these are home.
No. It's not until you enter the stadium and take your seats.
Because other places do make sure that the fan groups are kept apart.
Absolutely.
To avoid any unpleasantries.
Right.
I would imagine Millwall does that.
That happens. Yeah, that happens for them. I saw that for the East Anglia derby between Norwich and Ipswich when I went out there. But it was interesting. That game ended in a 1-1 draw because we went down first, and then their keeper, Sanchez, now at Chelsea, spilled the ball after a free kick, and then James Tompkins, of all players, a central defender, was the first to pounce on the loose ball and equalize for Palace. And that was the last game I saw Patrick Vieira manage for Palace. That was a one and done for me.
No more Brighton there.
Yeah.
The end. You're not looking for rivals. You're just looking for a good game there. No tension in the stands.
Yeah.
You're definitely not attending any NFL games.
No, but I did follow that up a couple years later when Palace drew Millwall for our third round game. And that magical FA Cup run to the championship. So I was there when we beat Millwall 3-1, and that was that was very satisfying. Again, not born into the rivalry, but I understood it like once I got to see it in person for the first time.
Because Millwall is actually your guys is a
Geographically,
real rival.
yeah.
And they almost came up this year. That was going to be they were
very
on the verge.
And then they got knocked out in the playoffs. Was it really by the cheating Southampton team? I can't remember. But yeah, whatever. It worked out for me in that sense. I don't really have any desire to see them come up, but that's about the extent of my relationship with that club.
You've mentioned Vieira, you've mentioned Glasner. I'm curious, what is the Crystal Palace supporters' take on Pierre Sage?
There's a lot of, I'm going to say, cautious excitement. Obviously, he's still young in his managerial career. He's only managed two clubs at the senior level, Lyon, ironically, with the whole John Textor situation, and last season, Lens, where he had a former Palace player, Hudson Edouard, as I think their leading scorer for this season. But he took Lyon from a relegation battle up to European competition, and then was sacked by Textor following a bad run of form. And then he moved to northern France and then took that club in his first season, managing them to second. I mean, they put a legitimate title chase against PSG.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I didn't really watch much of Ligue 1, but it's impressive.
It's hard to get here in the States here. I will throw out there that for those that don't know, you guys were supposed to be in the Champions League last year, but because the ownership owns also Lyon, they picked Lyon over Crystal Palace to be in the Champions League.
Right. So when Palace won the FA Cup last summer, the FA Cup is normally an automatic qualification for the Europa League in UEFA. But there are ownership rules that prevent one owner from having multiple teams in the same competition. So John Textor has stakes in Lyon. I should say had stakes in Lyon and Palace. And then that created a whole summer of uncertainty in terms of what competition we were going to play in. That affected who we would sign over the summer and bring in for the European competition. And we ended up being demoted from the Europa League to the Conference League because of Textor's split ownerships between the two clubs. In a weird way, that kind of worked out for us because we won the trophy. We won the trophy in the end in the Conference League, and then qualified for the Europa League via that merit. So now we finally get a shot at the Europa League that we should have had last season, and we're coming in again with a young manager. So I'm really interested to see how he handles the extra duties that are being thrust upon him between Europe, the league, and of course the domestic cup competitions.
See, I'm fascinated by the whole ownership situation with Palace because you've got Woody Johnson, who's got not a majority, but he's got a plurality, if you will. But also the guys who own the Devils and the 76ers, Harris and Blitzer. So obviously local ties to us here in New York. I'm curious to know, what do you think the CP fan base feels about Woody, given his lack of finding a coach to get the Jets back to a Super Bowl in over 50 years?
Thankfully, I think most of the Palace supporters who live in London are blissfully unaware of how badly Woody Johnson can be as an owner.
Okay.
We've tried warning them as a New York fan base, but it hasn't really sunk in because, again, we won the Conference League. He bought the shares to get Textor out of Palace's ownership.
Right.
Former British ambassador Woody Johnson.
Right, forgot about that. Of the Johnson & Johnson, medicine company. So I don't know to the degree he's been allowed to meddle with the club yet. But
how about his son?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
That's a deep cut. That's a deep cut with the NFL and the whole Madden situation. Basically, his son got involved with personnel decisions for the Jets using the Madden video games as their source for anyone wondering why he's being brought up.
Do you think the folks listening can hear my eye roll?
I could feel it there. So what are your hopes for this upcoming season? You got Chris Richards coming off. I know that you guys are a top flight Premier League team, but you guys get a lot of players poached. Like, as he got poached by Arsenal, as you said, there's a slew of really talented players. Like, you guys are developing them, and then they're boom, right off to the big six.
The model for Crystal Palace in terms of player recruitment has been searching for young talent who are in the up and the lower divisions, like the Championship or League One, or outside of England, and then buying them young, playing them for like 2 or 3 years, getting them to develop until they reach their, let's say, their peak playing years, and then we would sell those players off for a profit to the bigger vultures like your Chelsea and your Manchester United and your Arsenal. It's basically in response to how Palace almost didn't survive the administration of 09-010 when the club was just in the red for poor player spending in terms of recruitment, the quality of the recruitment, the prices paid for players, and the wages spent. So it's a very cautious approach to keep the club as sustainable as possible. The heavy spending market of the Premier League of all places. But the European competition is kind of forcing us to open up the books a little more because of the added strain of almost.
You need a second team.
Right.
It's a whole other.
We're getting an extra 20
season.
games potentially if we make it to the final.
Which you could. They're in the Europa League. They're up from the Conference League in the Europa League. Absolutely could win it. Also won the Community Shield. I forgot to mention.
Community Shield. Yeah.
People count that hardware.
I count it.
would
We beat
absolutely count
Liverpool
that.
in Wembley
Listen,
in a penalty shootout.
A
of all
trophy
places.
is a trophy. It doesn't
Right.
matter how you get it.
That's
Stateside
right.
Cup, FA Cup, Community Shield, Conference League trophy. Yep.
I still have my AYSO soccer trophy from when I was 6. Absolutely.
I got to tell you a funny story really quick about that. So I was in a tennis league probably 25 years ago. And it's, like a 3-0, 3-5 league. And, we play for, it's usually about 10 weeks for the first half of the summer. And then another 10 weeks you reset. And because I don't play very much over the winter, I would start at the lower level. I'd start with like a 3-0, and then I'd move up the second half of the summer to the 3-5. So the 1 year 3-0, I win. And the guy who ran the league says, stop by and pick up your trophy. Now, we played at Vanson Park in Paramus, New Jersey. And I didn't know what these trophies looked like, had no clue. So I parked the car over by the kiddie zoo, great zoo at Vanson Park, parked the car at the zoo. I go over to the tennis shack. Guy says, hang on 1 second. Comes out the side door. I figure he's going to hand it to me through the window. Side door. It's the size of a coat rack. And now I have to walk across the parking lot all the way to the zoo entrance with this. And I'm like, I can't hide it. And it's so gaudy. I'm like, this is insane. But it's a trophy.
Do you show it off in the house?
It is still a hat
in a
rack
prominent
in my
place?
house.
Sounds like it's a
hat
shrine.
rack. Oh, but it's awesome. And I'm just like, and people looked at like, wow, you were a tennis champion. I'm like, so here's but a trophy's a trophy.
I would just be like, you're a tennis champion? Yes.
But
yes,
I would
am.
have been very happy with like a tabletop little, this thing is like 4.5 feet high.
Toddler.
It's crazy.
They put in the effort there. You
But
put in
yeah.
the effort. They did too.
I love it though. Yeah.
Do you watch every match?
I try to.
Yeah.
I get some weekends off where I'm traveling to see family or see friends.
Yeah.
For the most part, I see almost every game, especially with Peacock offering the games on replay. I
Yeah.
just speed watch through a game unless we lost, in which case, whatever.
There you go. There you go. And then which matches do you have highlighted on your calendar for this upcoming season? That you're coming into New York, you're like, I'm watching this with everybody. Outside of the Europa champions, Europa League.
It's basically a weekend thing for me. I see the same, Pal supporters almost week in and week out at the football factory. They're like a second family to me up here since all of mine are in Illinois. All my friends are in Florida, so I see them the most in terms of family and friends. So that's been the one thing that's really kept me attached to New York Eagles, despite living hours away in another state. It's a great group of people to just hang out with and laugh with or laugh at together, depending on how the results play out.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are places I've gone to when they have lost and the place is silent and everyone's just very sullen and walks out, or is it still upbeat? Hey, we had a good game. Like O'Hanlon's and Cristiano will be on the microphone going, listen, it doesn't matter that we lost. We still had a really good time here. And then when I watched Liverpool just tie, I thought that their mother had died. So where would you put them in terms of, hey, win or lose, what is the emotional effect?
It's really just the performance more than the result. If we have a draw, but we played well, we'll applaud it. If we won, but it wasn't the best performance, who cares? We got 3 points. If we lost but played okay, it's like, all right, it wasn't the best day, but we can keep our heads up, like just hopefully a turnaround the next weekend. And then we commiserate together if it's a loss like that. But for the most part, we're pretty even keeled. I wasn't here in New York for the celebrations after the FA Cup win and the Conference League win, but I received videos from supporters who stuck around and watched the game here, and they were pretty wild in the basement on the Thursday afternoon. Wednesday afternoon, I mean.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's got to be a blast.
After
That's
winning
gotta be
Leipzig.
really fun. Right in the middle of May and June there. If you were to describe the personality of the team, like what would you say Crystal Palace is?
Oh, man, I'm going to sound like a manager. So before he left, Oliver Glasner emphasized the togetherness of the team. That was like the extra ingredient that took the team beyond the tactical approach and the individual talents of each player, just the togetherness within the squad. So I would say that Palace played on the Glasner counterattacking style. Like, we would stay disciplined, bend but don't break, absorb the opponent's best shots, and then attack quickly to score. That ties into togetherness for me in terms of just how disciplined the team would ride out the biggest storms, especially against like Man City when they were pushing for the equalizer in the FA Cup final, or in the first half against Rayo Vallecano in the Conference League final when they dominated that first half. We didn't have an opportunity on goal until Tyreek Mitchell glanced ahead of wide in stoppage time of that first half. But we stayed in the game because we played discipline defensively, and we had Dean Henderson come up with the save if needed. So yeah, there's a lot of emphasis on just the unity within the squad. Our new manager Pierre Sage seems to be of that same mindset in terms of cultivating that kind of unity with no nonsense. So hopefully there's a sense of continuity despite the change of manager, and we can see that formula play out and take us as far as possible in Europe and in England.
Never out of it.
Bryan Garcia, got to put you on the spot here as we start to wind things down. Opening day, couple of 3 weeks away. Where is Palace finishing in the table when all is said and done?
Well, we're probably going to lose against Everton because that's our first game of the season, Everton away, our bogey team. So that's already we're in the hole. And then we got Man City on a Friday night at home for Sage's first game at Selhurst. Oh, boy. I want to say with the squad that we currently have, it's very top-heavy. We can compete against everyone if we're healthy and we have everyone available. It's going to depend on the depth signings we make, like Oscar Mingueza coming in from Spain as our first signing, covering all 4, or depending on how we set up, every defensive position that the team could deploy. So optimistically, I'm hoping like top 12 and then like a European semifinal at worst. That's the European final.
Optimistically, but what about realistically?
Realistically, probably like 13th.
All right.
13th, and especially depending on how Europe goes.
Yeah.
That position
Europe.
is subject to fall depending on how far we go in Europe and how much we prioritize that over the league come the spring.
I think you're being safe there. I actually think Palace is a top 10 team.
They're going to be very close.
It'll be very close, but I get what you're saying about Europe, because Europe is like, it adds just so much miles on their legs. Mm-hmm. It adds a lot there.
If we didn't have Europe, we'd be like competing like Brentford did this season for the top 10. Now they're in Europe, so I'm interested to see how they handle the extra duties. And along with Sunderland too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Sunderland coming out of the Championship League, showing how it's done.
Mm-hmm.
Top 5?
Top 10.
Top 10?
Yeah, they qualified for Europe.
Very
quickly.
exciting. And I know Charlie Core and the Brentford Bees are very excited to be watching Europe for Brentford. I mean, they're a fun team. Very balanced, very enjoyable to watch. Hopes for Chris Richards. For those Americans looking to jump in, what do you hope, or what do you think Chris Richards is going to do for the team?
I like to think of Richards as the rock of the defense. We have J.D. Camvo, who's a young French defender who replaced Marc once he left for City. And we got some uncertainty over whether Maxence Lacroix is going to stick around with the Chelsea rumors lurking today. But Richards is, in terms of like the back three that we played in the Conference League final, unfortunately Richards was injured that day. But yeah, Richards is kind of like the defensive stopper of the team in terms of like consistently winning the headers, staying in position, playing a little more conservatively, just to kind of shore up the back line, while Lacroix has the free roaming role to kind of clean up any messes that may happen, involving Canvo or Richards. And Canvo had the permission to bring the ball up for an attack. So yeah, Richards is like a stalwart in the back, kind of just making sure we stay organized and winning every header possible.
He's so athletic. He's so talented there. All right, I'm going to put you on the spot for one more thing.
Okay.
Make the pitch to those who don't have a team and are looking for their football family. Why should they choose Palace?
So Crystal Palace first is a London team. So if you want that cosmopolitan city surrounding your team, you got that. We're not one of the big six, but we do compete in the big competitions like the Europa League now, the FA Cup, obviously the Premier League. And even though we've started to grow, especially in profile with the FA Cup win, we're still very much the same kind of like community-oriented, family-oriented club. The locals out in South London do a great job of, keeping those roots intact despite how international Palace is becoming because of the recent success. And then because of the stability in the Premier League. But yeah, we're a small fish in a big pond, but we can compete with the big guys.
A piranha.
Yeah.
Small piranha there.
Mighty piranha.
Mighty piranha.
All right, last thing I have for you, for the folks who are listening who want to be involved with the New York Eagles Supporter Club, where do they find you guys?
Right, so we are at the Football Factory inside Legends on West 33rd Street in Midtown Manhattan every game, including the weekday games for the European competitions. On social media, you can find us on Instagram at NY Eagles, same for Twitter and Blue Sky. And yeah, I mean, we're always looking for people to join us. We'll welcome you in. We'll show you the ropes. We've had a few people move to Brooklyn recently and make the commute from Brooklyn to Manhattan for the games. So yeah, we're starting to bring in more Americans per se, and not just like the English internationals who moved here to New York for work or for family.
Becoming a diverse crowd there, all nationalities.
Well, you'll schlep in from Brooklyn.
I will schlep in
and
from
I'll
Brooklyn.
come in from Jersey.
You got a longer commute than I do.
That's okay.
But I definitely will be joining you guys for a game there now that we've had you in here. Last question I have is for, again, American fans. If you were to correlate the Eagles to an American team, any college football, NFL, baseball, what kind of team are they like?
Oh man, that is actually the toughest question I faced all day today.
That's why we leave it for last.
Yeah,
Exactly that.
That's say the daggers for the end. Running through the pro leagues in my head real quickly. Oh, I guess I should go with NFL because that's always on everyone's mind in this country. Let's see. Old team, recent success due to a very fiery manager. Oh, man. I guess... Oh, I don't want to make that comparison, though, because I'm a Bears fan, so I'm not going to make that. I'm not going to make that Detroit Lions comparison.
You can. I mean, that's a good team. Exciting team.
The Lions did not win the Super Bowl, though, in recent years.
No,
but
Lions
still,
are a good
Danny
one.
Campbell's got them headed in the right direction.
I guess.
For sure.
And what happens if the Bears move to Indiana?
Indiana? Oh, man. It's still Chicago. It's still Chicago. It's still Chicago, even though Indiana doesn't want to admit it. Northwest Indiana is Chicago always and forever. Just the appendage to the city.
There we go. Well said there. So are we going with the Bears or?
Oh, no, not the...
Okay.
The Bears haven't had success since the 80s. That's like, oh, my God.
So
it's
Lions,
4 years.
kind of the Lions or?
I wish I could find a trophy-winning team, but there's only one Super Bowl. There's no like NBA. You know what? I'm gonna be cheeky. We're gonna say the Knicks.
There we go.
They won the NBA Cup before winning the title.
Right.
That's true.
A team in a big city that had difficulties winning anything.
Yeah. Beloved and yet always
A sense of unity within that team that brought them over the hump this year.
An owner that is a
Questionable
little
owner,
spiteful.
right? Same with our American owners.
We'll be careful so we're allowed to go to MSG. So.
Right. Yeah. Oops. Sorry, Dolan. No offense.
That wasn't me. Wasn't me, Jim.
I like his band. I will say that. Jim Dolan, I am a huge fan of the band. Anyways, Bryan, thank you so much for coming in here.
We're at the football factory every weekend. Look out for the big red and blue flag that Owen got for us back in our first season in 2013 that says New York Eagles, and it has the giant palace crest over, I think, the Manhattan Bridge.
Nice.
Love it.
Nice. Bryan, thanks for joining us here. Guys, get out there, find your football family. If Crystal Palace is your team, enjoy going to the games at Legends. For Marc and Sean, I'm Sean Castles. Thanks for listening.
This has been the Ultra World Podcast, the soccer fan's voice from the stands, with your hosts, Marc and Sean Castles. Our executive producer is Sue Zizza. Marc and Sean Castles are co-producers. David Shin is our master engineer. Assistant producer Avery Gehrig, and I'm Alicia Antwine. To be a guest on the Ultra World Podcast or learn all about sponsorship opportunities, send an email to ultraworldpod@gmail.com. Be sure to follow the show on all the social media platforms at Ultra World Pod. Copyright 2026. All rights reserved, Ultra World Podcast, LLC.